This is a Cavalry team, Josh Cloak, that ran the table over the course of the regular season last year, and through 4 games, looked like they were going to do the exact same thing. Back-to-back losses now for the Cavs.
I don't know how you can't watch that Pacific team play and not call them a contender, right? Earlier this week, I spoke to Pa Maduka. He said one of the things they were trying to work on as a team is game management. And to me, they executed their game plan perfectly. This is a team that coming into this game, so Cavalry has games in hand on them, they had more shots within the box than any other team in CPL. Had 9 shots on target again today, highest expected goals. This is a team that knows how to play patiently, build out of the back, and use their shots in the right places. They weren't intimidated by Cavalry's press today. Again, you look at this team now, I think they're a serious threat for the rest of this tournament.
I'm going to say something that I didn't think I was going to say coming into this Island Games. Cavalry is still trying to find the best version of themselves. I think they started in a 3-4-3 today.
Yep.
I don't think they look good in it. I thought Pacific exploited that all during the first half. Yep. When the ball went wide, when guys like Baldissimo and Bustos were finding Blasco on the left side, they had tons of joy out of that. And then it just wasn't a typical Cavalry performance. Mistakes at the back lead to Pacific's first goal. Going forward, not creating any really good chances, I would say. I think Cavalry is still trying to find out the best version of themselves. And anyone can win this tournament at this point besides Edmonton.
I think just
Ottawa. I'm not giving Ottawa a chance.
Okay.
Just throwing that in there.
Yeah.
I think as well, if you look at today's game, there was about, 10-15 minutes of that torrential downpour. And I thought to myself, that's what Cavalry wants, right? They want to just attack, be aggressive, and force mistakes. This worked to Pacific's advantage, even though I thought it didn't, right? They played balls over the top to kind of get over that press, and it worked really, really well. And I think you're right? They're still trying to figure out what, and 6 games in, that's the concerning part.
Even when there are mistakes, or if there were mistakes from Pacific, I don't feel like they can capitalize in the same way Pacific did. When the ball turned over there, they capitalized immediately on that first goal. Boskovic gives it away. It's 1 pass, 2 passes. Bustos on the ball, cuts inside, goal.
And it should have been 3-1 as well. We're talking about a comedy errors in the 41st minute, but this should have been 3-1. Again, it's easy to call it a statement game, but that's what it was to me.
Before we really continue to get into the struggles of Cavalry, at least over the last 2 games, Marco Bustos, I mean, coming into this tournament for a lot of people, he was the player to watch. He was the leading candidate to win MVP. I think today we saw the real Marco Bustos, didn't we, Josh?
It's lather, rinse, repeat for me. Finishing, finishing, finishing. That's what good teams are going to need in this tournament. And Marco Bustos, I mean, that first goal, you rewatch that again. That's a thing of beauty. That's a really hard move to pull off. Again, as Laura mentioned just a few minutes ago, against a very good goalkeeper in Carducci.
Yeah.
Right? I think
and turned Mason Trafford inside out. And he's one of the elite center backs in the Canadian Premier League.
And that's what this Pacific team are that a lot of teams aren't. They're decisive inside the box.
When Tristan Borges did this last season, and if that would have been Tristan Borges doing that today, we'd be talking about Tristan Borges getting a Canadian men's national team call-up. If you're going to pick one player from these Island Games right now who John Herdman should take a look at, Marco Bustos adds something different to even a Canadian side that is better going forward than it has been.
But haven't you found that
I want
over
to
the
have
course
that
of the
conversation
tournament?
later.
I'm not saying he's a starter.
But he's been a little bit inconsistent. Like what he showed over 80 minutes today, that's the Marco Bustos that he wants to see, right? Like you're right in terms of profile of the player, but we need to see it more consistently. That's got to be the case. Obviously, Cavalry as well. A win or even a draw today would have secured their place in the next round of the tournament. This is where things get really interesting, is because Cavalry are atop the table on 10 points, which we thought would be enough to advance. That may not be the case. They only have 1 game left, and they're going to be going up against an undefeated York 9 team in their final game. Nothing's easy here.
Yeah,
they're going to advance.
There was talk before this show about them not advancing. I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think that's a consideration whatsoever. I still think they're probably the best team in this tournament. I don't know. I'm passing it over to you. You've been accused of being a Cavalry fanboy. Where do you stand on them?
Cavalry is not the best team in the tournament. I'd put Forge ahead of them at this point.
Really?
I think that anyone in the top 5 can probably win this competition. But like I said, Cavalry for me just isn't as complete as they were. And for me, They're also missing Camargo now. We didn't see much of Cordova today. What does Ledgerwood add? I still want to see them in more of a 3-5-2. I think they were overrun in midfield today. Add another body in there, add a Ledgerwood in there, and get control of the game.
Sorry, very quickly. This is probably a good time. If ever a good time to slip up, it's right before the playoffs kick in, and now you're kind of like, okay, now I see. If you're Tommy Wheeldon, you see what the mistakes are, and you see how we can kind of build on this and how we can kind of move forward, right? I don't know. I think they're still in a very good spot.